Imagine this. The most advanced sensors on the planet started detecting something moving beneath Antarctica. It's not ice cracking. It's not tectonic plates. It's not a weather pattern. It's movement, constant, directed, and far too large to ignore. For decades, isolated reports were dismissed as anomalies. But now the amount of data is big enough that scientists can no longer pretend it's a coincidence. Something, or someone, is shifting thousands of tons of ice deep below the surface, and no one can explain it. And what's even more unsettling, the movement is increasing. What lies down there? Why is it moving now? And why have research institutes started restricting access to the raw reports? You're about to see a sequence of discoveries most of the world has never heard of. And the deeper we look, the clearer it becomes. Antarctica may be hiding a secret that was never meant to be found. It all started with something simple: underground noises that didn't match anything known. In 2018, a network of seismic sensors installed in Antarctica recorded a repeating pattern. Waves that didn't behave like anything natural. They weren't tremors. They weren't tectonic shifts. And they didn't come from any recognizable point within the Earth's crust. It was as if a massive object was sliding beneath the ice, slowly, pushing the continent from the inside. The official reports labeled it low-frequency anomalies. But anyone who looked at the raw data realized this wasn't just vibration. It was displacement. And the strangest part, a displacement that seemed directed, as if it had a beginning and a destination. Then satellite imagery revealed something even more unsettling. Areas that should have been permanently frozen were showing heat signatures appearing out of nowhere and vanishing weeks later. These hotspots didn't move like underground rivers or geological faults. They crawled, following curved paths, as if something hot, massive, and silent was traveling under 2 kilometers of ice. And then came the third clue: gaps in the data. Entire regions of readings were suddenly deprioritized, files began disappearing from public access, and portions of the report started arriving with sections missing. Which raises the question no one wants to answer. If this was just melting ice, why would someone try to hide the details? While these signals were appearing beneath the ice, another phenomenon started to unsettle researchers: deep magnetic variations. Sudden shifts in the magnetic field exactly in the regions where the underground movement had been detected. This shouldn't happen. Magnetic changes of this kind are usually linked to volcanic activity, magma flow, or large concentrations of metal. But Antarctica, in that specific area, has none of those known factors. For the scientific community, it was like watching a machine operate under a carpet. You can't see the machine, but you feel its effects. And then came the most disturbing discovery of all. In 2020, researchers studying the Thwaites Glacier, known as the Doomsday Glacier for its potential to collapse, identified a massive cavity growing beneath the ice. But this cavity wasn't expanding naturally. Geologically, it looked as if it had been carved out, from the inside outward, as if something was creating space, removing ice, building internal corridors, and moving. And that's the moment when most of the public data simply stops. Some sonar readings were never released. Several thermal images were replaced with low-resolution versions, and an entire section of seismic logs vanished from the federal database. When questioned, spokespersons responded with the same vague sentence: "We are investigating unusual ice behavior." Unusual behavior. That's the expression the scientific community uses when it cannot, or does not want to, explain what's happening. But for many independent researchers, the real question is no longer if something is moving beneath Antarctica, but what exactly is moving and where is it going? If something is moving beneath Antarctica, the possible explanations fall into 3 paths, and none of them are comfortable. 1. The geological scenario. Is the Earth reacting? The first hypothesis involves mantle plumes, columns of intense heat rising from deep inside the planet, capable of carving thermal tunnels under the ice. But there's a problem. These plumes usually stay in one place, like a fixed underground furnace. What the sensors detected isn't fixed. It moves. And no geological map places structures like that in the exact region where the movement was recorded. Which means, if this is natural, it's something geology does not yet understand. 2. The biological scenario. Life where it shouldn't exist. The second hypothesis is even stranger. In 2019, researchers found unknown microorganisms living beneath nearly 4 kilometers of ice in Lake Vostok. Life forms that exist nowhere else on Earth. Some of these organisms produce heat, gas, movement, but all on a microscopic scale. Nothing that could explain hundreds of meters of ice shifting. Unless something larger exists, something alive, evolving in isolation for millions of years. Is it possible? Yes. Likely. Not really. Unsettling? Absolutely. 3. The artificial scenario. Something built or buried? This is where the more daring theories begin, and they all arise because of one simple detail. The movement patterns don't look natural. They curve, they change direction, they pause and restart, as if following roots. Some researchers speculate that the moving mass may not be a thing, but a void, a tunnel, a colossal passage being reopened beneath the ice. If that's true, someone, or something, has been digging. Which leads to the question no one wants to raise publicly. Did this movement start recently, or has it been happening for ages, and we only now have the technology to detect it? And maybe the most unsettling part isn't what is moving, but why it's moving. When you place all the facts side by side, the massive underground movement, the tunnels appearing out of nowhere, the cavities that look carved, the magnetic pulses, and the heat signatures traveling as if following a path, one question becomes impossible to avoid. What exactly is moving down there? Because the truth is simple, none of the official explanations, not ice melting, not natural cavities, not volcanic activity, can justify something this large, this deep, and this deliberately directed. So the hypothesis no one wants to say out loud finally takes shape. What if the thing moving under Antarctica isn't ice at all? What if it's alive? Something that evolved trapped beneath kilometers of darkness, isolated from the rest of the planet for millions of years. Something capable of producing heat, creating space, and traveling silently without ever being seen by a human. Impossible? Science has already proven that some organisms can survive radiation, vacuum, acid, and the pressure of 4,000 meters underwater. So why not beneath the oldest ice on Earth? And if it isn't life, then the scenario becomes even more disturbing. Because if it isn't living and it isn't natural, then someone built something down there. Something massive, something mobile, something active right now. And that would explain another uncomfortable coincidence. The nations monitoring Antarctica, the United States, Russia, China, and several European powers, have all reinforced activity exactly over the region where the movement was detected. Missing data, pixelated images, offline sensors, restricted access. Too many coincidences to ignore. Maybe the ice is shifting because something is waking up beneath it. And if this movement keeps increasing, whatever is under Antarctica will stop being a hidden mystery and become a problem on the surface. What do you think is beneath Antarctica? A creature? A machine? A forgotten structure? Leave your theory in the comments. And subscribe if you also feel that something beneath us might be waking up.